Welcome to my channel where I talk about the good, the bad, the grotesque and the great happening to the environment today. This week I want to talk to you about banks. Those hallowed institutions that protect our income, lend us money when we need it and invest our money for us on things that we have no idea about. What? Yep, you heard correctly. They use your cash to boost their stash. If you thought that it just sat there being quietly guarded, completely free, then I'm afraid you're wrong. That hard-earned dough that's been sitting in your bank account is making big bucks for these banks all day long. Banks use our collective capital to reinvest back into lots of different growth areas. That pays off their business costs and enables them to make a profit. Now that would be fine if they were ploughing it into, say, affordable eco-housing, renewable energies, sustainable technologies, or even guide dog training schemes. Most of the banks are not. They're investing your money in bad apples. By that, I mean rotten causes. Unethical industries that do us and the future of our planet no good. So whilst you've been innocently squirreling away for your deposit on your first home or your dream holiday abroad, your bank has been investing into everything from UK fracking sites to American oil pipelines to Colombian coal mines. Since the 2015 Paris Agreement was signed, 33 leading banks have invested 1.9 trillion, yes, trillion, into dirty investments. That's the equivalent of 2,345 brand new, state-of-the-art, fully equipped hospitals in this country. Shocking stuff. If you're anything like me, what you'll want to know now is, am I complicit in this? And if so, which banks are doing it? I've got some bad news for you. Very few of the big high street cash hoarders are squeaky clean. For example, if you're with Barclays, who offer personal banking, they're personally using your cash to operate as the biggest funder of the fossil fuel industry in Europe. Yep, it's claimed that between 2012 and 2017, they bankrolled 15 fossil fuel industries with more than £22.6 billion. Of course, the world needs energy to drive, thrive and survive, with banks a vital cog in the global economic wheelhouse that effectively keeps the lights on. But some of them are really scraping the barrel when it comes to their investment strategy. They just turn a blind eye because, well, if we can't see anything, then it must mean that nobody else can. Barclays, we're looking at you. We're looking at things like the financial support you've given to the hugely controversial North Dakota Access Pipeline. Those that don't know what this is, it's a 1,172 mile long underground oil pipeline that cuts through sacred and indigenous land and has affected the quality of drinking water for people that were using water sources and is putting all sorts of wildlife at detrimental risk. All for the sake of oil. It's worth noting that the application for this pipeline was put in 2014, but it was approved in 2016 after the Paris Agreement was signed by almost every nation in the developed world, including the UK, and supported by UK banks to reduce and ultimately reverse the impacts of climate change. So what about HSBC? They have those lovely wholesome ads about being the world's local bank, don't they, right? You've seen those? Well, there ain't nothing wholesome about their dirty investments into tar sands exploration and deep water Arctic drilling for oil. Between 2014 and 2016, they spent over £7.7 billion on dirty investments. But don't worry, in 2019 they launched a gloriously reassuring PR campaign that they had mostly stopped investing in unethical practices in high-income countries. Of course, we celebrated for a moment until it was revealed by the Rainforest Action Network that they had simultaneously created a loophole that allowed them to fund coal mining activities in countries in the global south. You know, the ones on the very front line of climate change. Shall I go on? Their unrefined commitment to reduce tar sand exploration over time is loose at best. The reality is HSBC is one of the biggest backsliders when it comes to banking, having invested a further 2.2 billion in dirty fossil fuel investments between 2016 and 2017 alone. Alright, we know HSBC are bad, but what about Santander? They're Spanish! They know how to live. They siesta in the afternoons. They invented flamenco dancing. They must be good. Yeah, no. No, they're not. It's not all sunshine and sangria, I'm afraid. They've also escalated spending in fossil fuels. According to the Campaign Against Climate Change, they invested 574 million into the fossil fuel industry in 2014, increasing it to a whopping 2.24 billion by 2016. Their investments into ultra deep water mining, one of the most extreme fossil fuel extraction methods, was one of their most significant areas of growth between 2014 and 2016, up from 1.8 million to 2.2 billion. Yep, sorry folks, despite their claims to support the Paris Agreement, Santander also has its feet firmly rooted in the fossil fuel industry. And what about our Scottish mates RBS and their offshoot Natwest? They won't be messing with nature. They're proud of their beautiful highlands, lowlands and golden beaches. Plus, they're 62% publicly owned, so there's no way they can be involved in any dirty dealings. Right? Or, I hate to break it to you, but evidence shows that since the Paris Agreement has been signed, they've invested 4 billion into the fossil fuel industry, directly contradicting government's objectives to curb climate change. But whoa, that said, in 2018, RBS announced that their new lending policies exclude Arctic drilling and oil sands exploration. Plus, their fossil fuel lending in the last couple of years has dropped quite considerably. So they are moving in the right direction, and this little bit of progress should be celebrated. Although we should only really congratulate them once these changes are made permanent, and specifically exclude financing all fossil fuels. So, last but not least, the long-standing Lloyds. Lloyds claim to be for every generation, but by the way they're investing, this generation could be the last, because they're literally bringing out the big guns. They've invested almost £3 million in nuclear weapon companies between 2014 and 2017. Not exactly painting a hopeful, pretty picture for future generations, are they? Okay, so we've established all these big dogs need to be doing better, but are there any good guys out there? And who are they? Thankfully, there are a few, and you can do your bit to make sure that you're sat in the right camp. Triodos are hailed as the pioneer of ethical banking. They screen out companies that are harmful to both people and planet before they make any investments. They finance companies that they think add cultural value, social value, and benefit society and the environment. Plus, all of their reporting is completely transparent, so you can see where every penny goes, which is a lot more than these mainstream banks. There are others too. Monzo, Co-op, Metro Bank. A great tool to research these and many of the others out there is ethicalconsumer.org. Ethical Consumer has put a lot of time, effort and energy into investigating 29 of the biggest banks and scoring them and ranking them so you can make the best decision based on your values where you want to put your money. I know changing banks can feel like a total faff, but everyone is vying for your business at the moment. So switching from one bank to another is easier now than it's ever been. They literally do all the work for you, sorting out your direct debits, sorting out your standing orders, and some of them will even give you a cash incentive to change. Of course, changing banks isn't an option for everybody, and that's fine. There's other things that you can do too. Hold your current bank to account. Go into your local branch, demand to speak to the bank manager, ask where your money is going, how they're investing it. Get the answers that you deserve. Demand transparency and ask for your concerns to be escalated. Put pressure on them to divest funding in unethical projects. You have the right to know and say where your money is being spent. Ultimately, we need to take control of our money again and put it into banks that we know align with our values and a world we want to live in, but importantly, a future that we want to leave behind. If you found this content interesting or helpful, please share it with people and help spread this really important message about ethical banking. If you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and I'll be posting lots more weekly. But for now, goodbye.